Field Tripping, written by James Asmus and Jim Festante, art by Joe Garcia, lettered by Ryan Ferrier, published by Future Skeletons. Print date was November 1st, 2019. Digital release February 8th, 2022. What do you get when you mash up the Magic School Bus and Rick and Morty? You get Field Tripping. Actually, it's more like 30% Magic School Bus and 70% Rick and Morty, but going off of that, you can guess what to expect, yeah? If you enjoy these reviews, do the YouTube thing, help feed the algorithm, help the channel grow, and here we go. A nicely colored comic that takes the bright pastel tones and adds a layer of grit, which reflects the kind of story that Asmus and Festante was going for. It certainly is stylized for that more cartoony nature, so there is plenty to enjoy here. I'm giving it a star. It didn't mesh for me for whatever reason, but I can see people would enjoy this kind of art, so it would be dishonest to give it anything less than. This is kind of like the minimum bar, and it does pass it with quite the height. Due to the cartoony nature, we do see plenty of play within the panels and expressions for the story, as long as they're within the rectangle panels, which I am not a fan of personally, but it is also a matter of style, and in this style, in which the artist is very comfortable with, it does mesh well with the story. I am giving this a star again. Like with the art, I can see that people would enjoy this kind of paneling and expression. It just wasn't for me personally, but it does pass that minimum bar with quite the height. Just not my bowl of potatoes. We have our nice 5-man band set up. We have an idea of who is doing what. We have our leader, our lancer, the smart guy, the strong one, the sassy one. You get the idea, right? And kudos for not trying to overly talk like them youngins, so that is a good thing. I am giving this a star plus. It was well written, I enjoyed the dialogue, and it was enjoyable to go through. Would I have liked to see a bit more development from the non-main characters? Yeah, but that would be an unfair standard to apply here. Expectation subversion is a theme, and I like how it stuck with that. It is the main theme throughout the story. Most people are familiar with the Magic School Bus, and many more people are aware of Rick and Morty. You know, oh geez, Rick. This takes quite an influence from that. Not enough to call copyright claims unless you're a dick, but since we are familiar with it, it helps ease the burden on trying to explain everything. So we have a nice setup with a happy ending because, you know, the Magic School Bus, and then we have all this nihilistic writings of Rick and Morty coming on through. I am giving it a star. It's nice because it's simple and pretty. Simple at that. It has other themes too, but they all tend to circle around that main thrust of expectation subversion. It starts out like a Magic School Bus episode. Quirky but fun teacher, wide range of students, and an adventure of learning, only to have a cruel, cruel world come crashing down immediately. It remains fun to read. We have multiple dimensions, a portal bus, and a student council, all circling around the teacher, Mrs. Flubbins. I'm giving this a star plus. It is a fun story. I enjoyed it. The influences are pretty apparent, but then again, no one really likes the writer who makes multiple obscure references only to lord it over their fans because they're feeling superior. This doesn't have that, which is nice. 5 stars, 2 pluses. So yeah, I would recommend it easily, especially if you like the whole dark Rick and Morty angle. There are certain pacing issues. I'll be honest, some parts of the story move a bit too quick for my own personal likings, but with 128 pages, it is pretty complete as far as the overall story is concerned. You have a beginning, middle, end with every section, and for covering as much story as this story has, it is something to be admired. One part that was left less polished was the character development of the characters. Mind you, there is still a pretty big cast to deal with, but it does rely heavily on the audience's understanding of the 5-man band. But that means we, overall, are less emotionally invested in the characters early on. And early on is when the first doses of the gritty reality comes in. This book feels, on some level, where people overly analyze a work of fiction. In this case, it is the Mrs. Frizzle is a very negligent agent-teacher angle, but these kind of conversations easily turn into bad faith criticisms, like the whole Beauty and the Beast or Disney must be bad because of X feminist reasons. At times one can enjoy it, but overall it isn't something to be taken seriously, which is why this book gets away with it. They aren't taking it seriously. It is very easy to conclude that there are a lot of stories that can be told between the chapters and after the story, but that wide gap does make it so that some of the tension isn't as high as it could be if it were simply more pages to get to know the characters. And since this story was told rather quickly, it can feel pretty abrupt as well, but that may vary from reader to reader. Overall, it was a fun read. This was a comiXology original, apparently, but clearly by the release date it is not. But if you enjoy these sort of reviews, please do the YouTube thing, feed the algorithm, and I hope you're having a good day or good evening. Ciao, everybody.